I can work from anywhere in the world. Over the past 12 months, I've worked from Australia, Portugal, Sweden, Spain, Morocco, and a whole ton of other places across the globe, thanks to the process that I'm going to share in this video. Now, one of the most common questions I get asked is, how do I afford to live and work from all of these beautiful places? And my response is usually, it's actually not that expensive. Of course, don't get me wrong, I understand that I'm talking from a super privileged position, and I appreciate that some people can't afford to pay their mortgage, they struggle to look after the family, and can't really buy anything beyond the bare essentials to sustain themselves. In fact, if you fall into this camp of people, you probably don't actually want to be a digital nomad, because you're going to be putting your life and sanity at risk, and so this video is going to be of no use to you. But if you're just discounting this whole digital nomad thing because it's too expensive or impossible to achieve, especially if you're someone like me who, when you were younger, you saw a trip from the UK to France as this small luxury that only a few people could afford, then it's 100% worth figuring out what it would actually take to work from anywhere in the world by using something I've called the money matrix. Basically, the money matrix is a method of helping us to figure out our true baseline level of income that we need in order to maintain our current lifestyle. In short, we need to figure out how much money we need as a digital nomad in order to make that experience both fun and sustainable. So the money matrix then breaks down our expenditure or our spending into both tactical and strategic expenditure along the top row, and then high risk versus low risk expenditure along the side. The idea is that our spending falls into these two distinct categories. We either spend money as a tactical reaction to a need or want, or we set money aside preemptively for future use in a certain way. Then this risk dimension of the matrix is broadly a measure of how essential that spending is. If we're just spending our money in a low risk way, that can make our life pretty meaningless and boring. But also just saving our money in a low risk way can also mean that we're missing out due to inflation. So some level of high risk expenditure is often desired. The goal then is to categorize all of our expenses into the matrix and then add up the total amount of money that we're spending in each of these categories, as you can see here. Then to figure out our true baseline of income that we need as a digital nomad, we need to first go through all of the low risk expenses and try and see if there's anywhere that we can be saving money, and then secondly, add up the total amount of money that we're spending in this low risk expense category. I also then quite like to add 10 to 15% of income above this number to take account of unexpected low risk expenses, plus some high risk expenses that inevitably happen when you're traveling around the world. For example, you might want to go on a day trip somewhere, or you might like to eat out once a week. Obviously this isn't an exact science, but we're starting to figure out what our current lifestyle looks like and how much it would cost to sustain that lifestyle long term. Alright, so now we've figured out how much money we need to bring in. The next question is, how do we actually earn this amount of money working from anywhere in the world? And this brings me on nicely to the job matrix. The idea here is that all businesses are either location dependent or location independent, and we can work for those businesses as either an employee or an entrepreneur. And figuring out where we sit or can sit on this matrix gives us a clearer roadmap for becoming a digital nomad. The first category of business then is the location dependent business. And these businesses operate in a certain geographic region, like a city or a country or a town or something like that. Basically, you have to turn up at that specific location in order to get paid. So an example of an employee of a location dependent business would be someone like a builder who needs to turn up at the building site in order to do their work and to get paid. Other examples would be like a hairdresser in a hair salon, or a chef in a restaurant, or a retail assistant in a shop. But an entrepreneur can also have a location dependent business. For example, a shopkeeper who owns a local boutique, or a gym owner who provides fitness services to a particular location, or a garage owner who provides vehicle repair services to another location or another town. Like, these entrepreneurs have a specific location that they operate in order to interact with their staff, interact with customers, and to oversee operations. So if you fall into either of these two categories in a location dependent business, then you're going to find it impossible to work as a digital nomad. Like, you can't just work from anywhere in the world. So the solution then is to work for or to build your own location independent business instead. For example, an employee of a location independent business would be someone like a software developer in a remote job who can just code and collaborate with a team from anywhere in the world. In other words, their job is just totally remote and they're working for someone else. And as long as they turn up to meetings and get the work done, it doesn't matter where they live or work. The other category is a location independent entrepreneurial business, like a e-commerce owner who can manage and run their online store from anywhere in the world, or a freelancer who has a special set of skills that they can sell to clients regardless of where they are. So if a location independent business is the route we need to take in order to become a digital nomad, what are the available options and where do we start? Well, I like to think of this as a spectrum. On the one end of the spectrum, we have location-independent jobs, where you're more closely tied to working with or alongside a business or businesses, and then on the other side of the spectrum, you have location-independent entrepreneurial activities. And there are only really 4 key things that sit on this spectrum. Firstly, like working for someone else in a remote job. Secondly, building your own remote business. Thirdly, working as an online freelancer. And finally, working as an online creator. And where you decide to actually sit on this spectrum doesn't really make much difference. Although, as a massive generalization, I found that the further left you are on this spectrum, the easier it will be for you to find like a regular monthly income that meets your income needs, but the less scalable that income will be long term. Then the actual process of going down any of these paths have the same 3 fundamental steps. Step 1, pick a skill. Now, this can be any skill really, but we really want to choose a skill that has the capacity for remote work. For example, writing, graphic design, programming, digital marketing, sales, and things like that. Like, all of these things can be done remotely, and there's also a lot of demand for these skills in the global marketplace. If you're really not too sure what skill to pick, my advice would be to look towards your specific knowledge. That basically means like looking towards the things that you were doing as a kid or as a teenager almost effortlessly. The sort of things that you wouldn't really consider a skill, in fact, but the people around you do. For example, maybe you loved to journal as a kid, and then you were part of the school newspaper as a teenager, and so this would make you more, or probably better suited to become a freelance writer. And so your specific knowledge then is this weird combination of your DNA and your unique upbringing that makes you more likely to succeed at a specific skill. Step 2 then is to get really good at that skill. And put simply, this means just to practice that skill a lot. But if I were to be a little bit more specific here, I would say try to get real life experience doing this skill for someone else. For example, if you want to do the writing thing, reach out to your favorite websites or your favorite social media accounts and ask them if you can help them create their content. Or if you're into digital marketing, walk into your local estate agent and ask them if they want help bringing in qualified leads or people who are looking to buy in the local area. At this stage, we're not really looking to make money, we just want to get experience. And this is why I recommend offering that skill for no money at all, so giving that skill away for free. By taking the time to hone your craft and get testimonials and get case studies and to sort of start delivering results for people, you'll find it 10 times easier when it comes to moving on to step 3, which is to leverage that skill for money. How we eventually decide to leverage our skill depends on the remote work path we take. And I'll do a proper deep dive into all these different options and how we can maximize our chances of success. But in short, for freelancers, we leverage our skills by using platforms like Upwork and Fiverr, creating a compelling pitch of our services, and either waiting for people to find us or reaching out to people who you think could benefit from our services. For example, you might be into digital marketing and you might notice that a business has some really bad lead magnets. So you might go away and decide to create some free lead magnets for them and then ask them if they want more lead magnets at a small cost. For creators like YouTubers and podcasters, we leverage our skill by creating content around the skill that we've learned and then making money through advertising or sponsorships, or we sell a product directly to our highly engaged audience. For example, if you're a YouTuber that makes content around makeup, you can either get sponsored by makeup brands or you can sell your own line of makeup. For business owners, we leverage our skill by finding problems associated with that skill and then solving it in exchange for money. For example, if your skill is script writing, you may notice that a problem that many script writers face is that they struggle to retain the attention of their audience. And this is a problem that my friend George noticed, who subsequently built like a bunch of different products that helps people to write better scripts in order to retain attention. And he's now made a chunk of money from doing so. For remote employees then, it's relatively straightforward. We're looking to leverage our skill by finding jobs that are hiring remotely for that particular skill. If you did step 2 properly, you should already have a really good portfolio and a decent set of results that show to businesses just how good you are, and this is going to be the #1 thing that you need to land a remote job. So yeah, that pretty much sums up all of my thoughts on how to work remotely and how to become a digital nomad. I get that this is a super broad topic and there are also many nuances within the topic too, so if you've got any questions at all, please leave them in the comment section below.